Hey, so I was going through my book collection and I came across Dune. And, there are problems with Dune, but I love Dune, man. It's so cool. It's got such interesting ideas. It's got some very dated ideas about all kinds of stuff. But I wanted to talk about one thing that I really, really love about Dune, and that is the spice. So the spice does a couple things, and Dune is all about the spice. Spice is a space drug. It's like heroin, only if you get addicted to it and you quit, you die. You just can't live without it once you start to take the spice. But it does a few magical things, so it makes you live forever. Not forever, but it extends your life, and theoretically, if you were able to somehow, if your body was able to generate its own spice, maybe you could live forever, perhaps, maybe. And the second thing that it does is it turns your eyes blue within blue, and so you become the aliens because your eyes no longer look human, which I think is pretty sick. And the main plot thing that it does is if you're sensitive to it, you can see the future and you can see the past. And this kid, Paul Muad'Dib, has been bred to be very sensitive to the spice. And this is the moment where I fell in love with the book. This is pretty deep into the book, okay? This is like 3/4 of the way through. But one of the cool things about Dune is Paul, as soon as he can see the future, like at the very beginning of the book, he's getting dreams about the future. And so the whole of history is basically spoiled for him. It's one big spoiler put at the beginning of the book of his life. The spoiler is he's going to start a big war and 61 billion people are going to die, and there's nothing that he can do to stop it. And this moment is the moment that I fell in love with Dune, because it's Paul waking up after a time skip. In the time skip, he's basically married somebody and he's had a child, and she's pregnant with another child. And these two children actually don't show up in the Villeneuve movie, which I think is kind of a good choice, but it changes the trajectory of the story. Anyways, Paul wakes up and he can't remember when he is. Billy Pilgrim has come and stuck on time. It's that kind of thing. The passage. This is page 480 of this version of this. Pretty sick. Paul Muad'Dib remembered that there had been a heavy meal with spice essence. He clung to this memory because it was an anchor point, and he could tell himself from this vantage that his immediate experience must be a dream, meaning that he had just woken up from a dream, and he knows that it was a dream because that's his anchor point. I am a theater of processes, he told himself. I am a prey to the imperfect vision, to the race consciousness and its terrible purpose. And by race consciousness, he means like the human race. The human race is propelling toward an end, and he can see it. Yet he could not escape the fear that he had somehow overrun himself, lost his position in time, so that past and future and present mingled without distinction. It was a kind of visual fatigue, and it came, he knew, from the constant necessity of holding the present future as a kind of memory that was in itself a thing intrinsically of the past. The present future was intrinsically of the past. Weird. Crazy. Chaney prepared the meal for me, he told himself. Yet Chaney was deep in the south, in the cold country where the sun was hot, secreted in one of the new siege strongholds, safe with their son, Leda II. Or was that a thing yet to happen? So cool. I mean, and there are some things that I think could be clearer, right? Chaney prepared the meal for me. I mean, I think what he's trying to imply is he's trying to figure out, was I poisoned? Because at this point he's starting to get paranoid. He's a ruler now. He is ruling the Fremen at this point in the story from the age of 18, with a son, and with this sort of like, he can see his whole life ahead and his whole life behind. He can see himself as a blind, old, screaming beggar man, and he can also see himself from all the way back when he was a baby, before he was a baby, all the lines of his fathers and mothers, all the way back to Agamemnon. because Atreides, you know, Agamemnon and Menelaus are the house of Atreides, the house of Atreus, you know, and so like that name is then carried on all the way up to Paul Atreides, Paul Muad'Dib Atreides. Oh man, it's so cool. And it's packed into this little tiny segment. But I remember the first time that I read through this book, I like reread that part like 3 or 4 times, and I was like, oh my God, he's waking up and he's trying to say, when am I? You know, when am I in time? And I just think that made me go like, wow, you can really do anything in fantasy.